Mike, Danny, and Callum. It's good to be back.
Marcin was just bragging before we went live about his new setup and how it's all fancy and he can do everything, and he's going to try screen sharing for the first time in his new setup. Of course, he froze.
I was frozen.
Yeah.
I was talking only about the setup, not the internet connection, right? That's the two different things. But I hope I'm okay now. I will check my VPN and everything, what I can interrupt this and make it miserable for me. But yeah, I was just going to say that it's good to be back, and hello everyone. How are you doing?
Good, yeah. Busy week, rough week, but yeah, fine. How about Mike, Danny? Great to see you.
Yeah, very well. Good to see you too. Yeah, been busy, productive, full on.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we've been just talking before going live that I was on the 2 weeks holiday, but you've been all guys busy visiting some of the events, doing some cool stuff. So it was really, really good. And yeah, there's still a lot to come because it's like even though this week seems to be less maybe packed with the things and releases at least, it's still a lot of things happening, a lot of things going to be merged soon, released soon, and definitely this pre-Codegarden time is usually the most hot one when there is a lot of things happening before, because people want to show off and demo it and maybe present it also in front of the audience. So we can talk about it today for sure, right?
Mm.
And one of the hot topics to start with, or you can, Callum, you want to add anything else?
No, go for it.
Yeah, I was saying that there is one hot topic, of course, which was maybe not planned to be the hot topic before, but it's a security patch for Umbraco that was released this week. And from the blog post and the information shared by Umbraco and Bjarke, we can see that it's a medium severity security issue that has been identified in Umbraco 8, 8, 10, and 11. And the interesting part is that it affects logged in back office users, and it you know more maybe about it, because I read through it and I wasn't sure at the beginning, because it seems like some of the users without efficient permission could access some files through the back office, right?
I think it's I'm not clear in honesty, and maybe we can get a bit more information out of Umbraco on this, but yeah, it's a file access thing. I don't think that relates to, say, back office permissions, like you don't have access to this section. It's more that you shouldn't be able to see files on this server if you're that user, and you can. I struggle with the whole medium severity thing on that basis, because it is medium if you care about that. But if you've got a small site where everyone's already got admin access or has got more or less full access, I don't know.
It's like, from my perspective, it's like a risk calculation, right? If you have a publicly visible website and you have an amount of your visitors on the website potentially exposed to the vulnerability, and then you have your editors and maybe admins only possible to exploit it, it's like a lower risk, maybe medium risk. And that's, I don't know what about you guys, but at least from this perspective, it was treated as less priority thing, at least amongst the teams and the projects where I was involved. I don't know what about you guys. Did you patch? Did you update? What about you, Mike and Danny? Do you usually react immediately to this kind of announcements? How do you approach them?
That's a real interesting one for me, because I've kind of shifted into how I'm working it recently. But for me at the moment, it's more a case of, as soon as I can get them updated, I will do. But it's a case of finding projects. Some projects, for example, may not be always updated to the latest version, so they need to be updated just in general. But yeah, it's sort of a contract is kind of on a different side of the things now. Danny, what about you?
Not your problem, is it?
Yeah, kind of is.
Yeah, I think from an agency point of view, it's similar sort of pretense, really, though, isn't it? We try and evaluate it case by case, but we want to try and get them onto the latest versions wherever possible, especially from security point of view. However impact, I suppose, it is, it's always potential to exploit it, isn't it? So, wherever possible, we'll try and influence it, but it does have to be sort of evaluated, as Mike said, on many different cases why they may not be able to go to the latest version on each time.
I spent my day on, was it Tuesday that it came out? I spent my morning patching up some sites where, like, we have agreements with those clients, or it just makes sense, where it's a really straightforward patch and update. So we just went through and did those, and it made sense. In other cases where, say, the client controls releases or owns the roadmap, we don't have that power, and we've had to go back and explain why it's important. Explain, is it really medium severity, or like how does it impact us in reality? And yeah, it got a little bit messy, and some that where we've just had to notify clients and say, look, there's a problem, but we can't do anything with it until you say yes, or until you do an upgrade. And in some cases, it's actually helped us push a bit of work through with clients that have been waiting for a while, where we say, hey, you need to upgrade.
Yeah, at the same time, I had a lot of talks recently about how the security will change after, for example, Umbraco is going end of life of specific versions, and it's like this becomes an often question about what this medium severity means, and how danger it is for us to not upgrade, for example, this one. And so, and this is not an easy question, and we know all that.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned end of life there, and that's a fantastic point, because something I'm uneasy with on the communication of this is how the versions have actually been mentioned. So this, including Umbraco 9, has been added since this post came out. In the titles and all the promotion, it's all about it's version 8, it's version 10, and version 11, but it does affect version 9. But version 9 is end of life, and therefore it's not been verified and tested and patched. But it does affect version 9. So if you're on version 9, you do still need to know that you need to upgrade. The headlines here imply not, or could imply not. I don't know how this can be communicated better in the future. It's confusing. We don't, thankfully, have any clients on 9, so it doesn't affect us. But I can imagine some people are sat there, have been holding off that 9 to 10 upgrade, which is very straightforward to do if you are able to set aside, half a day or something to do it. It's very, very, very straightforward. But this implies that it's not on version 9.
But at the same time, I had I don't know if I've seen it on Twitter or somewhere, but it was exactly mentioned, like there's the kind of discussion. So is 9, because of end of life, is not patched or is not affected? And this sentence means it all. So the versions that are not longer supported, including Umbraco 9, have not been tested and will not be patched. So it might be the really nice use case to explain for the people what end of life means, and this might be the first security vulnerability that will allow us to show off what is the meaning of end of life, or what is the meaning of long-term supported version. So it might be a good case, but I assume, and I agree with what you've said, that the version 9 is affected. But if
the code is in 8 and it's in 10, it must be in 9, because
yes.
I'll add to this though, and kudos to Umbraco for, well, actually Stephen Harland as well, who was responsible for disclosing this in a sensible way to Umbraco, and it was patched quickly and has been released quickly. I will also say though that Umbraco have done a very good job of not revealing too many details about what this is, other than like that there is a fix and this is what it relates to. They've, as far as I know, they've still not yet pushed that code change, that fix, to the GitHub repo. So, or they hadn't on the day when the patches came out. So that because people could look at it and reverse engineer and work out how to actually exploit potentially in the real world, which is again a very responsible practice by backers. It's sitting in a private fork somewhere probably, and we'll get merged in at some point when an appropriate amount of time has passed. And
probably the same follow-up blog post or some more explanations of the issue will be revealed. I don't know. I can't remember. Sebastian probably said that in the past that there is a kind of time frame associated with this kind of issues where it's maybe suggested to not talk too much about it, right? So that again, we need to patch if we care about security, even if it's medium, high severe, low severe stuff. But of course, it all depends from the urgency of it and the intentions behind it. And yeah, it was really nice communicated, and we are having a really nice lesson about end of life thanks to this situation. So let's have it as a lesson and use it for the future. And yeah, kudos to Stephen for flagging it accordingly. Regarding versions, this week we also had some new release candidates announced, right? It's 11.3 and 10.5 for Umbraco. So have you been guys following all of these release candidates and testing any of these? Mike, Danny, what's your approach to release candidates cadence?
To be honest, I very rarely actually get a chance to play around with the release candidates, usually because I've my time's taken up with other project work. But I do know on the topic of accessibility at the Bristol the Spark Hackathon, I think it's Matt Agent did a PR around adding skip links to the back office, which is an issue that we picked up years and years ago, and it was one of those really awkward things to fix, and he found quite an elegant solution for it. And I know that's been put into this release candidate, which is cool. But that's all I really know about this one.
Yeah, there's the feature that I'm excited about is this examine one, because I've been doing this in my search extensions package for a couple of years now, where splitting out JSON properties into additional fields in the index is helpful because you can query things better. It's great to see that actually supported natively in the core now with a lot of these JSON-based properties. So well on there, and it highlights a feature that many people didn't know exists. So these property index factories, value factories, you can create your own, and you can do that, use that to modify how certain property editors get indexed. So yeah, that's cool.
I really like it as well, because it opens up the playground for all of the kind of JSON-based traversed properties, and also unifies the way of doing this amongst the properties that are currently in Umbraco. So Brocklist, and
I saw a discussion from way back on Twitter the other day. I don't know why it surfaced for me, but it was about, wouldn't it be cool if we could have like these index value converters to modify my value and have them indexed properly or as the right type? And it's like, yes, it kind of exists in the core. And I said this to, I think it was Christian Steinmeier who was asking for it. So yeah, you can do that, and it's this class, but it's not the friendliest thing to implement. You need to know it's there, but it's good that they're doing it as a default for those cases.
Yeah, some other smaller changes, surface control prioritization and inline macros that we were talking about a while ago.
You say smaller, but like if you're doing routing with forms, that middle one is like a godsend, because it's been broken since version 9. And yeah, the inline macros is cool.
Yeah.
If people are still using macros, I don't know really.
But that's also another interesting kind of exposed information, that it's Umbraco 11.3 only. So this is one of these features that might not be backported to version 10.
Because it's a feature rather than a fix or an improvement. It's there was a debate. Well, so Paul Seal did a tweet last week or the week before saying, this is why I stick with LTS, because Microsoft have broken something in .NET 7 that broke view components in .NET. And it's like, yeah, okay, fair point. But it also broke in .NET 6, which is the long-term support version. So it kind of doesn't really make any difference. And then we had a debate at our Umbraco London meetup last night about, do you stick with LTS or do you patch and have the latest changes? And one of the points I made is that 11.2 came out a month ago, and the last Umbraco 10 release, 10.4, came out 2 months ago. Now, there's bug fixes that went into 11.2 that haven't made their way into 10 until this release candidate. So if you care about getting bug fixes quickly, then actually being on the not LTS, being on the bleeding edge, is the better way to go. But at the same time, you run the risk of having new bugs introduced because you're on the latest version. You've not got this like super matured product, and it gets really interesting. Like, what do you choose? What's your approach? Do you stick with bleeding edge and hopefully get more fixes, more features, maybe that you care about, maybe that you don't, or are you happy to wait a little bit? Does this feature make a massive difference to you? Do you upgrade or not? And it's going to become more pronounced as Umbraco evolves. We're only really into one. We've only had one LTS of a core version. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and it's also seen the same from the client's perspective, and they don't know sometimes if they should stick to LTS or not LTS, and what are the consequences of not. Because I would, same as Carl responded right now, move fast and break things. I'm this kind of. I'm always an early adopter, but sometimes the accepted consequences of being an early adopter are not good. Yeah. Same with the Windows updates previously in the past, right? Whoever upgraded, please test it for a couple of days, then I will upgrade, right? If it works for you. So Visual Studio upgrades in the past. So products getting mature, and I think Umbraco is also in the position where we can trust some of the releases, and it's like usually it's not breaking major functionalities, so it should be relatively safe. But who knows? who knows? Who knows? But yeah,
A point
RCs
you
are
made
for
yesterday as well was about, I think I remember Philip saying, with this new release structure and release cadence and versioning, we won't have to talk about versions so much anymore. We can talk about features. But Lottie said, we're talking about versions even more now than we ever have, because we're talking about LTS, end of life, this bug fixes in this version, but not in this version yet, and all this sort of stuff. Like it's actually gone the opposite way, but probably in a positive sense, because we're far more aware of what's out there, and it's far more predictable. And each release is far more isolated. 3 headline features in this one, rather than before, where it's like, we fixed everything, changed everything, broken everything.
New versions are far less scary nowadays.
Oh yeah,
that's true. But maybe 1 year from now or 2 years from now, we won't be that scary about talking. We use Umbraco, not Umbraco 9, 7, 8, 10, etc. Because that was the dream of some software vendors, to not versionize their products. But yeah, we are still kind of seeing it from the development perspective. So we will definitely talk about versions a lot. And talking about versions, let's talk about Umbraco Forms versions and Umbraco Forms updates. There's Umbraco Forms 11.1 and 10.3 minor releases out, and some cool features being added to these ones. I didn't know, to be fair, I can admit that the customized entries view was something what was worked on, and I do really enjoy that. As a huge fan of custom list views everywhere in Umbraco, that I didn't have too many chances to implement though. I would love to see this inside of forms, especially when people are using form entries to operate business, for example. So I do really enjoy this feature. And
if you'd watched last week's umbraCoffee episode, Martin, you'd know all about it.
Damn it. I missed it. I missed this one. So I need to catch up. Thankfully, it's on YouTube. I can like and subscribe, and I can see that. So that's true. But yeah, there's a lot of other features here. Rich text options for submit messages, something what a lot of people were requesting as well in the past, and emails same. Validation patterns and additional updates too. And as same as previous, just upgrade, use it, and test it, and it's like a nice upgrade, constantly delivered from Andy and the team in Umbraco. And that drives us to a topic that we can discuss more with you guys here today. So starting from UMBRAAD, and please teach me how to pronounce it correctly, because that's
pretty sure it's just UMBRAAD.
UMBRAAD. Yeah, that's
stretch or an acronym for the Umbraco Accessibility Awareness Day. It's an event that we put on for the first time. I think it was 2020. I think it was around the COVID time.
Right through COVID, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it through COVID? Yeah. So a few years ago. We didn't do it last year just because we're very busy, and some of us are away. So this year we decided, semi-last minute, let's just do it again. So the first time we did this, because we did it even more last minute, we kind of just scrambled together a few people that we knew could do some talks for us. But this year we wanted to do a bit of an improvement on that and open it up to a wider selection of potential speakers. So we've got set up on Sessionize. We've opened up a CFP for the event that opened up the beginning of this month and will run until the end of month, so 31st of March. So you've got until then to submit your ideas, and we're literally looking for anything related to accessibility. It doesn't have to be Umbraco focused. Obviously, it's a bonus, but accessibility is such a wide topic. It doesn't have to be around development. It can be about content editors using accessibility. It could be business reasons for using accessibility. There's obviously you can have a technical talk. So we're kind of happy for anything. We've got sort of 2 slots, whether it's sort of a short 25-minute slot or a longer, I think it's 40 to 50-minute slot. And yeah, we're just calling out for more speakers, really. The actual event will be on the 18th of May. So at the end of March, we're going to spend a bit of time reviewing the submissions we've got. It's all anonymized as well, so we're sort of taking that approach to the talks. And then, yeah, we'll announce who we've got come do some talks for us. It's a 100% virtual event. The sessions won't be recorded. It's just going to be if you're here on the day, you get to enjoy it. And I think the last time we ran this, I don't think we managed to do it on the actual Accessibility Awareness Day, but this year I think we've managed to get it. And if I'm completely mistaken, Danny. But yeah, so really looking forward to it.
That's nice. I mentioned it to Callum before we went live that this accessibility topic is getting more seen, at least amongst a lot of the projects that I'm involved in and recently, and even on some seminars that I was running, there was a topic always mentioned and always discussed as well from the perspective of the back office users and the front end users and generally everything. So it's definitely a nice, and you've been doing it for a while already in the community teams and also in the community in general. So I'm sure that what I wanted to add to that is like we need to also maybe call the people who are not that involved in the Umbraco community, but they have a lot of knowledge about it. Some of even our clients, some of product owners, some of the people who are requesting these features or requesting these improvements from us as an agencies or developers to tell us maybe through this event about their challenges, maybe something like that. So that was what I was thinking before as an addition, because of course from the tech perspective we can talk about it from one point of view, but there are different point of views on this one, right? So that would be maybe interesting to see more.
I'm always fascinated with the way that people sort of bring in accessibility into sort of the topic of conversation, whether it's, you know, from a technical perspective, it's, you know, there's some really interesting stuff you can do, some fun stuff to learn from a technical perspective, there's some fun technical challenges. There's also a lot of stuff that you can do just at the basic level that can make huge differences and huge improvements. You know, that no one's going to, you know, tell you off for not being perfect, because, you know, in this world, everything is very, you know, there's so many layers of complexity. So it's always your best effort to put in there. And there's lots of reasons, you know, you've got the, it's the right thing to do reason, which, you know, 100% valid. There's the, as a business reason of, you know, if you're not accessible, you're potentially excluding clients. There can be legal reasons depending on the project you're working on and what country you're in. So yeah, there's a huge value add to having accessibility. It's a topic of conversation or something to think about for your projects. And obviously the accessibility team, we've been working on making improvements and raising awareness for years now. And, you know, for just to bring that on into a bigger highlight as well, like anyone can get involved with this and learn. Like there's a couple of people in the team, they joined without really having much prior experience with accessibility and use it as an experience to learn. So there's, you know, I'm sure a lot of other developers and non-developers out there will appreciate the fact that you can really learn a lot just by doing something you don't know. And if you don't know where to start, we've got there is a separate GitHub project board and issues tracker just for accessibility issues. So if you're ever looking to see how you can help out, or even just to understand what type of issues exist, you don't necessarily have to fix everything, but to give yourself a bit of an understanding and education around it, because we're now at a stage where you've got the technical side of things and the usability. So, you know, our main focus when we started on this mission, I guess, it was to make the back office accessible or improve the accessibility, right, for people who are using it. But that was under the rules of GTAG, that's right, I'm just getting mixed up there. But that's, you know, under actual using websites in an accessible way. But there's now been new guidelines introduced called the authoring tool guidelines. I'll probably mess it up, Danny. You have the knowledge on that. That actually introduces an additional layer to think about accessibility, especially in the context of authoring tools such as CMSs and Umbraco. And Danny is, I don't know if you want to go into a bit more on that.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I think you covered it quite well there, to be honest. But yeah, most people who are familiar with accessibility, or maybe heard, you know, sort of an entry point to it at the very least, is probably heard at least one time of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, otherwise known as the WCAG. And they're a set of recommendations that we can do to improve websites for accessibility. But there are other guidelines in place that are obviously looking at far other services than just websites. So as Mike mentioned, ATAG, which is the Authoring Tools Accessibility Guidelines. And not going into too much detail, but it's broken up into basically two parts. So the first part A, is about making the back office more accessible. And that's exactly as Mike said, a lot of the work that we've been doing as part of the Umbraco Accessibility Team was focused on the back office and making improvements to that, so that people, regardless of their condition, their ability, or, you know, their circumstances, can access and use Umbraco and not be excluded from it. But the other side to it, which is part B, is about really empowering our authors to make sure that they can publish accessible content. So it's about having mechanisms to, create accessible content, but also to bring that awareness and sort of educate the authors on what they need to do as well, right? Because often accessibility gets fallen and lumped onto the developers to make more accessible services, but many accessibility issues can be fixed from a content level, especially we're using a content management system. So anything we can do to bring that back to the author and make it accessible before they publish it to live and not retrospectively have to fix it is obviously going to be a massive benefit for so many different organizations working on Umbraco. And just to point onto that list there, I think it's the very end column. If you decide, I think it's hidden.
Scroll over.
Yeah, scroll over. To the right. Sorry, Marcin, if you could keep scrolling.
Yep. Tell me to stop.
To the right, not down.
To the right.
Bottom scroll bar.
Horizontal scroll.
Horizontal scroll. Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
I broke the whole window now. My new perfect setup. Give me 1 second.
Well,
Yep. Getting there. Yep. Scrolling right. Yes.
Well, right, there we go. So the authoring tools, accessibility guidelines there. So we've got 10, 11 features, I think, are in place now where we're looking to create that functionality, basically. So certainly it's something that we're looking to do as part of both the team, but also the wider community, is to see how people can really start creating some of these features that are going to be so impactful to so many different people.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the content part is something what we used to talk a lot since the package that we've demoed a couple of weeks ago, right? Here about the checking it per page, which exposes exactly what is needed sometimes for editors, that you have issues, and these issues were not here before you started creating content. So maybe it's your content, and then this kind of awareness exactly is needed, because if you don't know, you don't know. But when you know, and you can do something with it. So that's what we also addressed since then a lot. And I'm glad that you're doing it. And this board looks amazing. And I know that you also collaborate with a lot of people, and these fixes are constantly bring to the CMS. So that's getting better and better with every potential release. So that's impressive. And yeah, that's really, really great.
I know that Danny, you're speaking at Codegarden on topic Fix the 6, like kind of the 6. Was it the top 95% of all accessibility issues on websites? So these 6, maybe I've misquoted that.
No, you're exactly right, Callum. Yeah, so it's a personal and a practical explanation to accessibility. So sharing the why this is important from our personal stories and experiences, but also, as Zachary said, Callum, the practical side and what people can do based on the top 1 million websites and how unfortunately they're falling massively short on those requirements as it is. So and the fact that, exactly as you said, 96.5% of the issues found within there can be covered within these 6 issues. So Fix the 6 is what we're hopefully going to be promoting.
Also, I saw a version of this talk that you and Molly did at DK Fest, and it was my highlight of the event, and I know it was a lot of other people too. So I'm sure that will be a big hit at Codegarden. Make sure you don't miss that.
Yeah, I think from other than developers' perspective, it would be good to spread it across the clients and owners of the project to let them also be aware why and how important it is to fix this 6 or address or at least take a look on the importance of the accessibility. So I'm glad that you are there, right?
Yeah, it's certainly.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
I was just going to say, it's certainly a starting point for people who want somebody to have something meaningful and actionable on the back of it, and the hope is that they just continue to raise their awareness on the back of that and continue to see the importance in doing what else they can do around it as well. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah. I would say on your point around, often it can be a thing that people realise after the fact that something's been built. I was having a conversation with someone the other day about, if you go to a client, or how do you make sure that you can include accessibility when you're building a new website or designing for a new website? If you go to a client, do you want to make sure that your website is accessible? I'd be curious to know how many clients would actually go, no, I'm fine. No one's going, because if you said that from a business perspective, you're being intentionally exclusive. It's just purely because it's a hidden thing, right? Which is an unfortunate situation. If it's just mentioned about, you want it accessible, it's just part of the build. You don't say it will cost you extra to build in accessibility features. It is just part of the work.
It's a bit like in the UK, where when you're building a new physical public building, you have to bake
Yeah.
accessibility features in. Same with public websites and stuff. But like the builder doesn't go, oh, you're gonna like you didn't ask for that, so we haven't thought this through. Like, oh, you didn't say you needed. This is not an accessible example, but didn't say you needed stairs. We just thought you'd have 2 levels, and like how are you gonna get between them, kind of thing.
Pay extra.
Without you asking. So it's kind of the same in the web world.
It's a really good analogy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but the bad part of it is like we need to check it, and we need to bring this awareness from the beginning, right? Because a lot of the people are not even checking this or caring about it. So if it will be started early, it will be addressed early, and then there are some companies obsessed with accessibility, which is again that very good because they need it. So balance is needed, and as Mike you said, it should be a kind of default part of the build on the default level, and then maybe taken higher if needed. Right? So that's really great topic, and yeah, let's address that. And of course, you will be talking about it more on Codegarden that we've mentioned. So yeah, that's really great. And of course, UMBRAAD, which is soon, and the call for proposals is ending by the end of this month, right? So
next Friday, you have a week left.
Next Friday.
Get those
So
in.
that's please, if you have anything, and you who is watching right now, if you have anything interesting to share, reach out to UMBRAAD team and submit your idea, and share your knowledge. Cool. So continuing sharing knowledge and Codegarden topic, we can bring awareness about couple deadlines, as you've kind of mentioned on the list of topics to mention today. Early bird tickets have been extended to April 21st. So that's
the same date as last year. So I mean, there's not really any excuses not to get a ticket at that price now. Like I know that it probably makes Umbraco's life more difficult budget-wise selling tickets at the cheaper price, but helps everyone else out. So why not? There's a month left.
Yeah, but that's good. So definitely, it's more time to buy tickets, and also there is not more time, but the time is ticking for the Umbraco Awards. And I completely forgot that this submission deadline is so close because it's exactly it's end of March already, and it's only until April 14th to submit the nominations. And I do remember how much time consuming submitting nomination is from last year's. So if anyone is watching us today and still has something cool to nominate and share and submit, please do and remember about this deadline. So yeah, it is approaching quite fast.
But it's the package awards as well,
yes,
included in that. And there's 2 forms you have to submit, same deadline, but the form for the package awards is way simpler. So I think you just have to fill in the name of the package and why, which is there's no real excuse for why you shouldn't nominate some packages that have made a difference to your life.
Mm-hmm.
Our contentment USync that we're all using, but maybe some of the one like the one that Matt showed a couple of weeks ago on umbraCoffee with the accessibility tests, like that's quite a cool showcase. So maybe it's worth nominating that one too.
Indeed. If you mentioned packages, maybe we can jump to the first meetup on our list, which is packages question time. That is a virtual meetup with Lee Kelleher there to address some of the questions and challenges seen from the perspective of the packages creators, right? And this is happening when it's happening March 24th.
25 minutes.
That's quite short call for anyone who didn't know about this, but meeting starts as soon as UmbraCoffee finishes. So if we'll stay for another hour, we should bring some more time for people to join. No, we won't do it, but it exactly starts after this one. So yeah, that's really cool, and the link is being shared here, and please join and attend if you want to. And a couple other meetups to mention. This one is on March 29th, Manchester Northwest Umbraco Group, and the agenda is talk from Dan Lancaster about exploring Umbraco Cloud's newest features, and John Witter intro whistle stop tour of the Poly library. Have you guys used Poly library?
Not in anger. I've created a demo of it once for a proof of concept, and I've watched a lot of talks, but
I was nagged a lot. I was nagged a lot by our developers previously to why we are not using it. We should use it. We should use it for everything. and we have never used it as well in the production yet. But yeah, it seems to be cool. So maybe that's a good opportunity to learn more about it. So that's the one. And the next one is a brighter editor experience on the Melbourne Umbraco meetup group. So it's when it's happening, 5th April 5th. So that's also further in time. And Mario Lopez will share some editor's experience information on this one. And last but not least from the meetups, at least, is Umbraco Newcastle meetup. That will happen by the end of April. So we'll probably remember and remind you all about it soon. And Rick will talk about decarbonizing the planet, and Bjarke will talk about new back office there. So practicing and talking about a lot of good stuff before reaching out to Umbraco 13. So really nice talks. 2 more things to mention, 2 more deadlines, and then we can close. So Codegarden, still, where's the deadline? July 7th.
Yeah, it's a little while, but we keep throwing it in there just to keep reminding people, because if, like me, you'll wait till July the 7th to see it, we can at least say we didn't warn you.
Is there a specific amount of reminders when it's clicking finally, or it's?
I think it's more deadline driven, Marcin, as we've said before.
So that's true. But July 7th it is, and definitely it's time to apply as soon as possible to make the organizers' lives easier. And the final deadline to be mentioned today is the package community team, and it's still collecting the applications for the team, and this deadline is when March 31st as well, so end of this month, next Friday, and the team stewards and Umbraco are looking for new and motivated community members to join the forces and address the package challenges there. Cool, and that's all what we have prepared for today. Anything else, guys, from your perspective to be added?
Not from me, other than get your talks in.
Yeah, looking forward to speaking to you all on Brad. Yeah, definitely seeing you there.
Lovely.
Awesome. And yeah,
Thanks,
as usual, if we missed anything, let us know and we will mention it next week. Like, subscribe, follow, share if you found this useful. And yeah, look forward to see you on UMBRAAD and all the other events. And as usual, next week in umbraCoffee. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us today. Have a lovely rest of the day, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye.